This is Real Estate Copilot. It doesn't matter if you're a client or an agent, I can help guide you through your real estate journey. Get ready for takeoff. This is Real Estate Copilot. I'm your co-pilot, Josh Shives. Joining me, as always, our in-house marketing guru, Nelson Pelton.
How's it going?
Also joining us, our guest today, Nate LaMar and Jess LaMar of LaMar Realty Group here at Raeco Realty.
What's up?
I like your radio voice. That just totally changed.
I was thinking the exact
Yeah.
same
You
thing.
Just the tone, the pitch. It's a whole different job.
You got to be in. You got to be full go, right?
I like it.
Cool. Today's topic is real estate teams, team dynamics, pros and cons of teams, how they operate, how they don't operate, what works well. I think we're going to dive into lots of different details on that over the next hour or so, and hopefully you like it. So here we go. You want to talk about yourself a little bit, introductions, how long you've been in real estate?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm Jess LaMar, the LaMar Realty Group, and I started real estate in 2017. Started out at a different brokerage than where I am now.
It's okay. You can say it. We don't hold anything back.
Okay. Yeah. So I started at Keller Williams. Great place to start where I was at in life. And then I started out by myself and then pretty quickly joined a team that I was on, team leader. I learned a lot from. She's very knowledgeable in real estate. She was great with her contracts. And then at some point, it was just time for me to leave the nest and go out on my own. So I did, and it wasn't too long after that I actually came over to Raeco to be an individual agent.
There's a train. Sorry about that.
When you first started real estate, who was talking to you before you even joined Keller Williams?
That's a great question. There's this guy, Josh Shives.
Oh,
He just
Ended up here anyways.
Kept
Coulda
coming,
just-
yeah. Just was pushing real hard, and eventually ended up here anyway.
Now, Jess, what got you originally interested in real estate? I know your area code is not from this town. I always have to double check it when I post anything with your listings. So, what brought you to the area, and how'd you get originally into real estate?
So I am originally from Illinois. So that's an Illinois phone number. I have had the same phone number since I got a cell phone. So I was like 15.
It's hard to
probably.
make those changes.
Yeah, and I didn't want to make the change. But that's where the area code comes from. I went from Illinois to North Carolina actually for about 2 years when I was in my early 20s. Had a blast, lived life for those 2 years, and then decided it was time to come to the Indiana area. I have my older sister, Darcy, who lives here, and she was married. She's got kids, and I was just ready to be back around them because I'm close with them. And then I ended up meeting Nate, my husband, and that's it. Then I was here since then, and I got into real estate. I actually kind of hate always talking about how I got into it because it is your basic answer that people make fun of, which was I watched a lot of HGTV.
There you go.
And I loved.
Oh, that looks
That'll
fun.
do.
Oh yeah, I loved Fixer Upper. I loved Good Bones, which is filmed out of Indy.
I think that ended recently, didn't it?
I'm not. I think it did. I don't know.
I don't know about the show. I think they got rid of the store at
Yeah,
least.
they had a
Okay.
storefront, but I don't. I think they might actually be moving locations.
I don't know.
But anyway, I started looking into it because of that, and then Nate and his mom also were like, "You should try it. I think you'd be really good at it." And so I did,
Cool.
and here I am.
So is being in real estate a lot like those shows that you were watching?
Oh, absolutely not. Nothing like that.
More tears,
Yeah,
for sure.
a lot of tears, a lot more alcohol.
You mean you don't just go show like
That's
2
really-
or 3 houses, make $1 million, and then go to some cocktail party with your friends?
No, that's unfortunately not how it goes.
No.
Um,
Man, that's what I keep thinking.
I know. I know. And everybody that sends me a message and is like, hey, I'm thinking about getting my real estate license, ... I want to be like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh,
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I love it. I love real estate. I have had more jobs than I can count on 2 hands before I got to real estate because I just could never figure out what I love doing. And I'm someone who I cannot be in the same routine every day. I need something different every day, and real estate definitely brings that. So
So, I mean, if we're going to
Way to
make
go, Nate.
noise, we might as well move your mic a little bit.
Yeah, I move it up just a little. That's it.
There we go.
No big deal.
That's going to
we
be
go.
terrible
Good.
for the editing. I'm sorry, Nelson.
I'll mute it there.
Yeah, I forgot what I was talking about now.
Just getting into real estate and how you love that it changes every day.
Yeah. I love that it's just different every day. And this is the longest career that I've held. So this is my 8th year in real estate, and I have no plans on changing.
Woo woo. Mr. Nate.
Support staff for Jess throughout that, as well as time in law enforcement. We ran a party bus company for a few years, sold that. Managing partners of a gym in Delphi for 3 years, got out of that. And I'm still part of the real estate team, but most of my time and focus is on my new job. I've gotten back into law enforcement and took over as the chief of police in Delphi. But on my quote unquote days off, I stage houses with Jess, which is what we did this weekend.
Yep.
Very cool.
That's super fun, right? Move this around, move that around. When you stage the house, how much input do you actually put, or do you just do what you're told?
I just move things.
Okay.
It's
Pick this up. Move
Yeah.
this.
The muscles.
the job that I've found while she is doing her thing is I'm the light bulb freak. Every house that we stage, like the one that we just did, had over, I want to say it was right at a dozen light bulbs, and for a 1,000 square foot house, that's most of them. So I keep myself busy with whatever work I can do. And in this case, we were changing out filters on the furnace and changing light bulbs and just all the little things.
When you change the light bulbs, you change them because they're out or because there's 2 different colors and it bugs you?
Both.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
When
And-
you have professional pictures with Nelson, it highlights all of those things. So when you have a fixture with 3 bulbs in it, it doesn't look terrible until you get your professional pictures back and you're like, oh, that doesn't look
we've
great.
got-
Some are
got-
blue, some are yellow.
Yeah.
We've
yeah.
Looks like a Christmas tree.
Bright, bright, warm. Here we go.
The house that you just did, they were all that, like the daylight color, except for the fixture by the front door. It was the warm white. So yeah, that got swapped out.
Yeah, and it's honestly, I'm glad that he started doing that because those are things that for a long time I wasn't even paying attention to. My mind is so focused on where am I going to put this? How am I going to fill this space? And he's like, I need to go to the store and get like 10 light bulbs and switch them out. And I'm glad because that, again, my mind is not focused on that.
So does Nate ever interject with creative decisions when it comes to staging a home?
He does, and usually I take it into consideration for about a second, and then I do
Mine
it.
is more.
We file that in the back. We get to it eventually.
Mine's more branding and superstition in that we have a bottle of Bird Dog peanut butter whiskey. We always say if you want a house to sell, that bottle has to make it in there. And if that bottle's in the house, multiple offers first day. And if we don't get multiple offers first day, it's like, where do we go wrong? Oh, the peanut butter whiskey's not in here. But then also branding, like we've got a laser engraver, so anything that we can put our logo on, we do. So
I've photographed that bottle many times.
Yes.
Maybe it's when I forget to.
maybe that's it.
Well, he asked me.
I
where
didn't see
was
it
for
today.
this.
Was it there?
It's not.
Uh-oh.
I'm actually, so I have accumulated so much staging stuff that currently, when other team members use my staging stuff as well, and I'm not the one packing it up, I don't know where to look for things. So I've also just got a storage unit for all my staging stuff. And right now the excuses, I don't know where it's at. I have to dig through totes and boxes before I can figure that out.
So we need to go buy one. That's what you're saying.
Maybe.
So is that like a rare blend? Or can you
No,
go to the store
I
and
don't
get
think
it?
so. I think you
Okay.
can get
No,
it.
I think you can
Yeah.
just get it just about anywhere, but we
Never tried it.
I've never had it either, but
we put it in one with a couple of rocks glasses, and people started asking if they could get the whiskey with the house, if they wrote it into the offer, and it became a conversation point. So
Yes.
it just moves from house to house. Maybe somebody actually snatched it up off of one of the recent houses and we didn't realize it.
I'm assuming you would oblige to that though. Like if they really like, I'll buy this house, but I want the whiskey. It can come with it, right?
And we'll buy cases of it if
Yeah,
that's what
if
it
that's,
takes.
yeah, if that's the deal breaker, like we'll buy a case for you. That's
Oh man,
not a problem.
no
Yeah.
big deal. You heard it on here, guys. If you want a free case of whiskey,
Let me check with excise and make sure we can do that. But
Yeah.
I'm sure we can find a way.
yeah,
As long as Raeco's alcohol liability policy will cover that.
I want nothing to do with that actually. So
I didn't
that's-
figure.
Yeah, that's strictly from you.
Since we're on staging,
independent
go ahead.
contractor. Go ahead.
Since we're on staging right now, and I know this episode's about team dynamics, how does working with a team help when it comes to staging? Because I know that can be very difficult if you're just an independent agent to stage an entire home.
Yeah, so I have been very, very lucky to have team members that are willing to help with the staging part. So a lot of times, like a long time, it was just Nate and I. When Nate was just in real estate, it was just him and I that were doing all the loading and unloading and loading and unloading, moving of the furniture. But then as my team started to grow, they started helping me with all my staging stuff, and usually afterwards we would all go out to lunch and have margaritas and drinks on us for
Some
helping.
team building too. Huh?
Yes, some good team building.
It's a trade-off, though, when you have team members who can offer that to their clients as well. It's not just, only Jess's listings get staged. All of our team members have used the staging at some point in time, and it's a team effort. They'll put in the effort on one of our listings, and then we turn around, and when it's time to pack that stuff up, we're moving it to that team member's listing. So it's an added benefit and value for them as well.
Yeah.
That answer your question?
Yeah, for sure.
Are you trying to say that you would like to help stage?
Yeah.
We got some coming up.
Call me later.
Yeah, I've got another one, and I mean, if the tens of people that are listening to this know of any younger kids that might be interested in making a little bit of money, I am looking for some movers to help me out here and there. I have one next week that I could probably use some help on. So
That's advertisement right there. Like anybody looking to help. Yeah, let me pencil that into my schedule. It's only about scheduled to every 10 minutes or so, so we should be able to just find
Yeah.
time.
I knew better than to ask you. That's why I asked
Yeah.
Nelson.
No big deal. All right. So after you moved over here to Raeco, became an independent agent on your own, left another team. How long did it take you before you decided you wanted a team? Because I know that was a conversation for a while.
well, if I'm being honest, I never wanted a team.
I know.
I
That's
was
why I've said it.
I was very against having a team. At the time, I was I don't want to be responsible for anybody else. I don't want somebody to be running things under my name and my brand just in case they screwed stuff up. Like, I just didn't want that on me. But we kind of started it willy-nilly. Like, Nate always wanted to have a team, and it kind of just happened. We knew a girl that was getting her license, and she wanted to sit down and kind of talk about like what her next steps were and just some advice for it. And that meeting turned into she was joining our team that didn't exist yet, and
Yeah, we walked out of there like, I guess we have a team.
Yeah,
It kind of existed because you were. I mean, you were first, right?
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
You
can
were the
say,
team.
Yeah,
Sure.
Nate when Nate got his real estate license, and there were two. So yeah, we definitely were a team already.
Yeah.
I just don't. I wasn't.
You didn't have to take responsibility for Nate.
Yes, correct.
She started to say I didn't count. That's okay. You can say.
that was not what I was going to say.
I phrased it better, I think, maybe. I don't know.
No.
So,
So yeah, when we started, we kind of just threw ourselves into it. I truly did not know what I was doing. I didn't have any kind of systems in place. I didn't have an onboarding process, none of that. We just kind of went as we made things up as we went and hoped for the best.
I took that philosophy the whole first year of Raeco. Like we just
Yeah,
made things-
yeah.
Sure, we can do that. Like
I think you're still in that chapter of the book.
sometimes it feels like that, but like I had myself and two people that when we first started Raeco that came with me, and I knew how that worked because we kind of we started it and they understood like this is what we're doing. But when somebody that I didn't know approached us to come on, and I was like, okay, so like how do we, I've got my system here, I guess, for these people. We've already operated together. We know how each other works. But how do we add somebody that that I've never met that came to me and was like, yeah, I want to join your brokerage? And I was like, okay, we'll figure it out. Like,
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And it's definitely a lot of trial and error with things too. I don't know. I definitely couldn't have done it without Nate. That's for sure. Me being on my own, I think it would have been a lot harder. Because I'm sure everybody knows this by now, but Nate is like a marketing and social media guru. So he did a lot of our social media. We both kind of shared the stories on Instagram, but I mean, post, and he was usually the brains behind our social media. So that and other things when it came to a team, like I just don't think I could have done that on my own.
Even just down to the basic structure, and maybe I'm jumping ahead here, but like just splits, how it comes to a team, because somebody on the outside looking in when it comes to real estate thinks that it's a team and like you just sharing everything. So, if the four of us are a team and Nelson sells a house, we all get paid, and that's just not the way that any of it works. So trying to kind of put that in perspective for ourselves, for team members, and find what works has been definitely the trial and error part.
Now I've seen team structure, and maybe we can segue into that, different structures for different teams and stuff. I've seen that setup before. I normally don't see it for the long haul, I'll say that, but I've seen where a team, if it doesn't matter who's on the team, everyone gets paid, and it's based on if you're the team lead, it's X percentage, and then each person gets a percentage of different stuff. That's out there. I'm trying to. I don't know of a team, at least in our community right now, and I don't know them all their pays, but I know several of them, and I don't think there's one that's still operating that way.
I feel like that would just breed resentment, because if you have one person selling 10 houses and one selling 0, I mean, somebody's always going to feel like they're doing more. Somebody's always going to feel like they deserve more, or somebody else doesn't deserve as much, or whatever.
Do you find that in your team dynamics where, as competitive as real estate is, how do you continue like a positive attitude within the entire team?
I think everybody contributes, whether it's helping with staging, the team meetings that we have, the leads that we send out. So it's commonplace for, again, if it was the four of us and Nelson, you had a lead come in, but you have plans tonight, you send it out to the team. And then next week when Josh is at a basketball game and he gets a lead, he sends it out to the team. So everybody's contributing back into that pot as much as possible. And I think that kind of breeds a little bit more of the teamwork atmosphere. But yeah, real estate as a whole, cutthroat. We try to isolate our team from that as much as we can.
I mean, clients always want to work on your schedule anyways, right?
Oh, yeah.
We do need to schedule a vacation.
They are always very, very mindful of what we may have going on in our personal life, and no, that doesn't exist.
But that's okay. We've
Yeah.
shown houses. We've done Christmas. We've done Super Bowl, Thanksgiving. I mean,
Labor Day.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever done Christmas. I've talked to a client before on Christmas, but I've never like gone out and met with a client on Christmas, I guess. But have you done that really?
Did we do Christmas?
You were writing for our friends in Bringhurst. I want to say you wrote that offer either on Christmas Eve or Christmas.
Oh, Christmas Eve. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
I'm sure
Or
it happens.
that may have been Christmas Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
One or the other. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. I wrote 2 offers. My youngest, child, my son, when the day he was born in the hospital, I wrote 2 offers. And I so badly wanted to take a picture of me, like with my laptop sitting on my wife's legs. And she basically told me she'd kill me, but I was like, we could go viral right
I was
now.
gonna say, I don't think she would have appreciated that very much.
It wasn't like during delivery by any means. You know, we were just
it-
warming up for it.
It doesn't
like-
even matter.
I would've done it.
During the warm up isn't even a good time for anything. So
I'm sad I missed that opportunity now that you mentioned it.
I literally wrote 2 offers, both of which got accepted. And so I tell everyone I sold 2 houses the morning my son was born. No big deal.
So you basically paid for the hospital stay.
Probably not. Have you seen those bills?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're realtors. Of course we don't have health insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
hey, we're working on that
Yeah.
quietly. I just put it out there, though. Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess you do. You work whenever the client
Yeah,
wants.
you do, and that's okay. It's just like any other job or career. There are always really, really great things, and there are always not so great things. But for the most part, like after doing real estate, I really couldn't imagine doing anything else. I feel like I would be screwed. Like if something major happened and I couldn't do real estate anymore, like.
The market just crashed tomorrow.
Yeah, I just don't even know what I would do
Only
with
10
myself.
houses to sell all year.
Yeah.
You're,
Wah, wah.
you're talking about schedules, and that's another perk to having a team is we found that anytime that we had something going on, she would end up paying somebody just to answer the phone. Like, hey, even if we don't call you this weekend, we need to know that you will answer the phone. So please take this money so that we know that our clients are taken care of. Because if you wait until you're however many states away and you're like, hey, can somebody do this? And it's just crickets because nobody is able to. So having team members on standby and taking some of that stress, especially from a newer agent, like, hey, we've got your back when you go out of town. And they may not know how big that is at their early stage in the game, but
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Having people that can help you out is a tremendous asset in this business.
Yeah.
I'm sure that plays into open houses as well. When you guys hold open houses, I know that a lot of times there's multiple team members at those events. So what benefit do you see there?
So whenever we have an open house, we do ours, I'd say a little bit differently. We don't usually do your typical Sunday open house anymore. We usually do ours during the week, and typically it's when it's first come on the market. And we usually encourage all of our team members to come to that because that's their opportunity to, one, I don't want to say learn to have conversation, but learn to have conversation in those settings where they're talking about the market, where they're talking about the property. That gives them good practice for that. And then also hopefully potentially turn into a lead for them for whoever does come to that open house.
It's kind of like it's a built-in networking thing. If you don't get the sale from it, or let's say 9 times out of 10 you don't get the sale from it, it comes from another agent. But like you at least met with 20 people, and all 20 have your business card, and all 20 know your name now and a face with the name, and it's just speed networking basically.
In all honesty, too, the open house is a really, really great opportunity for them to get content. Nate and I, and this is a lot, again, because of Nate, he is the social media guy.
I've got one of those.
Yes. We encourage them to come because the open house gives them content to put on their social media. And that's how they start to get recognized and get their name out there, too. So it's a good opportunity for that.
We literally take content of content. When Nelson came, when we went out on Raccoon Lake,
Yes.
we were taking content of Nelson launching the drone, of Nelson, here's Nelson, here's a video of Nelson shooting video.
Yeah.
We did a little bit of that recently when we brought on a new team here at the beginning of the year, and when they did their headshot, like the video ones we do on the website, when they did their video headshot, we shot pictures of him shooting. So almost it's like that you see on TikTok and like the celebrities getting their shots on the red carpet, and you see the camera guy in the picture. We did a little bit of that. That was the first time we've done that, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I've been pushed creatively with Nate and Jess with the content that I've been doing with them. Yeah,
That's cool. That's what we
every
want.
time it's something new. So
That's
yeah,
what we
it's
want.
pretty cool.
Nelson had a team member jump over a house. Like,
I remember
even
seeing
I
that.
hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Yes,
That was
yes.
pretty cool.
The creativity juice is flowing.
I will be honest. When we were there, and Nelson's like, "Hey, I have this idea. Let's have him like make it look like he's jumping over the house." And I remember thinking, "What? Like, okay." But I just went with it because I trust Nelson, and the video. I think that was probably one of our best listing videos we've had.
Well, yeah, and that shows the value of a team member.
I
We had a
mean-
team member that jumped into the pond on that one.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
and that's the thing with the team too, is that at least for my team, I can't speak for all the other teams, but I want people to be on my team and I want them to build their brand. They may be under the LaMar Realty Group, but they're also going to be able to brand themselves under that. So we started having our team members, if they're able to, be like, if I have a listing, they can be in the listing video with me, because again, that gives them a chance to be in front of the camera. People are seeing that they're doing something. Like, to me, that's giving them a little bit of face time and showing people, hey, I may have just got my license, but I am out here doing shit. Like,
Whoops.
yeah,
Is that
sorry.
did you
Didn't
throw
bleep
the
that
keys
out.
in that video too? Same one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was good. The key
There
shot's
was,
cool.
There was
there
some
was
good
many
bloopers.
missed catches that day.
No
Oh
way.
my gosh. It was so windy out. Well, this isn't because of the wind. This is just because it was a terrible throw. But the first time I tried to throw the keys, I threw them straight into the ground. Like, it was, honestly, I had flashbacks to softball because I've done that a time or two in softball in
I
high
was
school.
throwing cameras that day too. I threw one into a lake.
Wah,
This
Yes.
wah.
Yep.
Well, at least that one's waterproof.
Yeah,
It's on purpose.
I had a float on it so it wouldn't just sink to the bottom.
I'd rather you throw that one than the one back over there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, after the fact, we learned about the giant snapping turtles, the snakes. Got to see some of the snakes for ourselves out of that property. So I'm glad he just jumped in.
Yeah,
And
and I
Yeah.
think Nate called me afterwards. He's like, "Did you see that snake at the open house?"
Wah, wah.
I think your kid was playing right where the snake was. And I was
she
like,
was,
oh no.
She
oh,
was
no.
at that like garden box there
Yep.
near the deck.
I never saw it. If I would have seen it, I probably wouldn't have gone back out. Like, somebody else would have had to.
I'd like to see that property not. I'll send
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
from my team to show
No,
it to.
thank you.
But you were talking about teams and open houses, and they're really, I guess you'd call it a force multiplier for us, because we have somebody at the table with our lender, and if somebody has questions in the house, hopefully have a team member in there. On that specific one, we had a UTV. We rented a UTV and a driver to tour the property.
It was
so
like a whole event. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got chauffeured around. We
Yeah.
had dinner.
where there was a food truck. So
Yeah.
a lot of times, like, we were having live music at open houses for a while because we wanted some cover noise so husband and wife can stop in the driveway and ask each other questions and maybe go back through for a second round instead of making it to the car. If they make it to the car, they're not going to come back in the house. So on that one, we had team members in the parking lot basically pointing where to park and having people sign the waiver to get on the UTV. But they were able to answer questions. So if they came up with questions on their way out, like, they're going to have to go past several team members and hopefully take the opportunity to ask that question and get them back in the house and address whatever issue or whatever question they have. So the more people, the better.
Okay. Moving on from open houses with teams, let's talk a little bit. We started to go in there a little bit about like splits, and we won't define what your splits are or anything like that. But how do you decide? How do you decide what that would look like, or at least how did you guys decide going forward? And you were on the other end to begin with, so you know the value of what the split is and what you get for it a little bit, at least from that side. And then you had to go forward and you had to decide, all right, what value do I bring, and how did you evaluate that?
I think one, I kind of took what I already knew and kind of went with that as a starting point, but also, in my opinion, made it a little sweeter because I'm not stupid. A team, you get people on your team, they learn a whole bunch from you. They get to a point where they're like, okay, why is it benefiting me to be on a team? I bring a lot of my own business. Like I can go out on my own. So what is the benefit of being on a team? So every year that a team member is with us, we try and make the pot a little bit sweeter. So whether that's coming down in what our split is every year, or honestly trying to add little things throughout the year. I wouldn't say as bonuses, but we do, like we went out 2 summers ago for a team building, and our team building was going out on Raccoon Lake on a pontoon boat and just having a good time and being able to let loose from real estate together and not being such a, every time we're meeting, we're talking about real estate. Like we just got to hang out. And that was an expense to the LaMar Realty Group. So none of our team members had to pay for anything for that day.
Including the content creation.
Including,
You went
yes.
on it with him, right?
Yes.
I did.
Nelson was
I don't
out
know
with
if I
us.
charged you guys or not.
I was gonna say, I think we got charged for
Yeah,
that.
you might have.
I think we did, yeah.
Well, the teammate didn't, though. She said it
But
wasn't
the teammates
expensive.
did. Whatever happened that day was an expense, for us.
That's right. That's what,
But it's really trying to
I
also.
thought you were gonna talk about what we did this year. We just rented a.
Oh yeah, this year for Christmas, as a Christmas outing, we actually rented a giant limo bus, basically, and stocked it with drinks. And we went to Carmel and had dinner, and then.
I'm gonna pause. She said we. It sounded like you said stocked it with drinks and weed. It was not.
Oh,
weed.
sorry, it was not weed.
You guys. went-
Sorry, there was no weed involved.
I just heard what I heard in the headset, and I just want to clarify.
I'm sorry, no weed.
And that will be posted by an anonymous person in a Facebook group, I'm
Yes,
sure.
yes.
That's what I said. I wanted to clarify for the record.
I appreciate that.
Stocked it with drinks, and we went.
Yeah, and we went
Comma
to.
and we went to. Okay.
We went to Carmel, went out and had a nice dinner and drinks, and then afterwards went to Cake Bake for another dessert drink, and then of course cake.
Yeah, cake at Cake Bake. That's
that we
really
took-
cheap and easy going, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, so cheap.
So is it better getting chauffeured or driving people? I know, Nate, you can relate to the other side of that business as well.
Oh,
right?
getting chauffeured is the only way to go.
Yeah.
Driving is about as much fun as you would think. Yeah. A lot of stress and pressure with that. Being in the back of one of those is way better.
But so yeah, just taking my experience from being on a team and kind of taking some things from that and thinking back on like, okay, at that point, what would have possibly made me stay on a team? So trying to think of things like that to basically show that I am of value and that they benefit from being on my team and not want to leave. Although I do know that eventually they'll probably leave because they're ready to be on their own. But
Yeah. I mean, there's people out there that stay in the team atmosphere forever, and that's great. And then there's people out there that eventually they spread their wings and they want to fly, and that's great too. So I mean, it just
Yeah.
depends.
Really comes down to life circumstances. We have a team member now that has a full-time job, and this is kind of not necessarily a side gig, but like a spare time gig. And we're X number of years away from them being a full-time agent. There's nothing wrong with that. We have team members who have left to go out on their own, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you do your job as a leader, then that's going to happen.
It's gonna.
So do you think that's a benefit to agents that, let's say, have a full-time job that are just doing things on the side? Is it better in that aspect to be part of a team, or would it be more beneficial for them just on their own? I can see that difficult if you aren't committed fully into real estate, but
I think the expectations. I think, and before they answer, I'll say, I think it just depends on the situation because, the expectations of the team are going to define if you can do it part time or not.
Sure.
yeah, I definitely think that I know a lot of people do real estate part-time, but to me, I don't think that real estate is a part-time thing. Now,
Very difficult.
it is very difficult. So if you are going to do it part-time, I do think that being on a team would be super beneficial. Just because we have someone, like Nate said, right now who works a full-time job, so she's with us part-time, and I love it, but it is also frustrating just because whoever your team member is, you just want that full commitment. And we brought her on knowing that that wouldn't be the case, so you kind of change your expectations a little bit for that. But the reality is, I think that if you have a full-time job and you're doing this part-time, a team is going to be the way to go, because otherwise when you're at work and you have to answer emails and texts, or somebody wants to see a house in the middle of the day, like who are you going to call?
Back to the client's expectation of you to work on their schedule whenever their schedule is. Like if you're working another job, which is fine, and especially it's a little bit more relaxed right now, but roll the clock back 2 years ago. If you were working 9 to 5 and a house hit the market at 9 a.m., like it's probably gone at noon.
Yeah. Yeah.
With 27 offers. And
Absolutely.
Well, and I think you said something about it being frustrating. We're not frustrated with the person, frustrated almost like you wish that you could show them the big picture. Like if at some point you can commit full time and go all in on this, like your reward will far outweigh the risk if you can be committed to it and spend the time on it. For some people, it's just not possible. Like we talked about the health insurance thing. If you need to have health insurance for you and a couple of kids, like it's just really, there's a gap that you have to cover for, I don't know what it would be, the first 6 months, the first year until you're really rolling and could pay for private health insurance.
Yep.
I'm going to have that fixed this year. That's like one of my personal goals right there.
Don't threaten us with a good time.
Yeah.
I don't exactly have the answer. I have a couple options that I've doing some investigating on and talks about, but I don't have the perfect answer yet. But 2024, I'm going to have a solution for that. That's my goal.
That's exciting.
Well,
it's hard to believe that it hasn't been a statewide thing yet. When you think about the number of realtors, how has a group not been formed for it?
Yeah, it's just hard because it's still like, even if you form a group, it's still going to be individualized plans and stuff like that. It's just because it just goes down to how you're paid and classified as a. So but that's going to happen. I don't have the exact answer yet. We have a couple people we've been talking to about it. It's going to happen.
Let's bring them on the show
and talk about insurance.
Kind of going back to what we were kind of talking about, like being committed, like if you're part-time or whatever. I think that's something too that is can be very challenging as a team leader when you're bringing people on. One, nobody is going to care about your business as much as you do. Now, it is my business, but also that agent that's coming on my team, they're kind of creating their own as well, just under my umbrella, right? I can't want it more than that team member wants it. And I think that is what can be frustrating sometimes, is when you have a team member and you know that they have so much potential and they could do so much more than what they are, and you feel like you've given them all the tools to be able to do that, but it's almost like people will try things for like a week or two, and if they're not getting those instant results, they're over it. And what people don't understand is, with real estate, consistency and patience are the two like main things. And if you don't have that, let me go back. Consistency, patience, and discipline. You have to have all three of those things if you're going to be successful in this career.
Almost anything, not even just this career.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that is what can be super frustrating when you have team members. Is I can't say that I've been in real estate. This is my 8th year. That's not a long time, but it's long enough for me to have learned things that I've done that work for me. So when I try and give people tools that I've used that have worked for me, and they listen to for a minute and then they don't do it, and then they wonder why they don't have business, like it can be so frustrating to sound like a broken record.
It's like giving them your trade secret and then they just don't even care.
Yeah.
But you have to consistently do that trade secret. I mean, you just talked about jumping into the career full-time versus part-time. When you first started, you had another job. Is that right? For a little while.
No, I think once I got my license.
I thought there was a little bit of crossover.
She didn't get past the test a couple times, and I was like, if you because I was in law enforcement at the time, had unlimited overtime, and I said, if you can get past this test, because she was in a job that she wasn't super happy with, and oh, I just want to call in today. No, we're not going to call in when we're not sick. Like, if you're not happy in your job, let's do something else. And I basically said, if I can work unlimited overtime, if you can get past this test, you can quit your job. And she was like, wait, what? And all of a sudden she passed her test.
I passed the test the next time. Honestly, though, in my mind, before I had passed the test, I was like, okay, I'm going to go part-time with where I'm at now and get into real estate. And then as I get income, then I'll quit and go full-time. And Nate said, no, if you're going to do this, you're going to do all in. Like, you're not. So I am super grateful that he continued to say that to me, because I was freaking out about it. And he was like, no, like, we'll be fine. You're going to go, you're either doing it all or you're not going to do it all. So. Because
ahead of time, like, it's easy. It's human nature, whether it's real estate or whatever job, like to make excuses, or, I would do this, but I got to do this. I would go all in here, but I have to do this for these hours a day. Sure. No, just go all in on it. And that's going back to what she's talking about with team members. Like, not only is it frustrating to tell them or have her tell them over and over and over and they don't do it, but then you start calculating time. Okay, she's now spent how many hours this month talking about marketing and neglecting our own marketing in the process. Mm-hmm. It's like we're killing ourselves trying to build you guys up and help you get there, and you ignore it. So you almost get to a point, and I've talked to several team leaders, some here within Raeco, that are like, I'm over it. I either don't want a team or I'm not going to have a team, because if I take the time that I put into them and put it into my own business, I'll be far ahead. And I think the team members the team leaders that have said that now have teams again. I think there's ebbs and flows that they get frustrated and go back to it, and I'm sure that she has days like that. But
and I'll be honest, I mean, I am currently in the process of rebuilding and restructuring my team. So there were a couple points at the end of last year where I was in that same boat. I'm like, it just felt like nobody was listening or taking me seriously, and the time and effort that I was putting into that, it just felt like if I just went on my own and had to deal with myself and that's it, like, I would be golden. But at the same time, I also look back and it's like, I haven't done everything I can as a team leader to make the best go at it, if that makes sense. So I want to give myself that chance to do better. And then also, I love mentoring of real estate. Nothing else. I don't like to mentor anything else. Real estate, I love to mentor. It is, I don't know, I enjoy it. Especially if they're new agents, brand new agents, and have no idea like how to start, like, those are my favorite. I love being able to help them get started and on their feet. So.
That's awesome. I've had similar conversations to what you said with my wife, in the early days of Raeco. It's like, what am I doing? Am I doing this wrong? Should I just be putting the effort into me? And then you talk it out, and you're like, no, like, you just back to the consistency. Like, I just have to be consistent, and I just have to move forward and do it and go. And I think it's doing okay at the moment. I mean, we keep growing, like, good or bad or whatever, indifferent. We keep growing. So that's a positive. It's tough conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you said, with everything, it's consistency is the key. Like, if one set of standards is set and never followed, and then there's a new set of standards, it goes into every job if you don't stay consistent with it, and people know what to expect or not to expect. And hopefully we're always moving more towards that. I know that we've appreciated the consistency of Raeco. The messaging, the branding has always been supporting local and local business, and we find ourselves talking about that at every open house.
And that's honestly going back to the beginning when I switched brokerages. Like, Nate and I had a small business or two under our belt, and Keller Williams just didn't seem like it was that fit for us anymore. We wanted to be somewhere that was local, and we knew the money was going back into the community, and that was exactly what Raeco was. So, no regrets. Still glad that we're here and that we made the move.
We're happy to have you. So, yeah. What other bullet points do we have for team dynamics here? I guess.
You know what? I think the reason you would go into a team is because you find value with that. Just like a small business owner, you hire employees because they're going to bring value. So obviously there's a value associated with having a team. Please elaborate.
There's definitely a value in it. Over the last year, especially, we found times where we'd just be drowning in leads. And while some people buy leads, we've been fortunate enough that we don't buy leads just off of marketing and open houses. You know, depending on the house that you put on the market, it wouldn't be uncommon to get 10, 11, 12 leads, and to like actually work those and follow up with them, because, you know, 10 leads on a house, 8 of them are probably going to fall off. 2 of them are going to be serious. One's not going to get financing, but you still need to follow up with all 10 of those. So it's just not feasible. If we're doing our job right and we're being consistent and we're bringing in those leads on our own, you can't work them all.
Yeah.
And they need to go to someone who, if they were pulled in under your branding, under your umbrella, you want them to stay under that. You want them to get that same experience. If they have a house to sell, if they called us because they came to our open house and they took a ride on a UTV and got dinner at the food truck, when they have an open house, we don't want them to see a plate of Chips Ahoy on a Sunday from 1 to 2 or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just if they expect a certain work product, we want to deliver it. And in order to do that, you have to have more people. You have to scale.
Yep.
Jess and I have had multiple conversations this past 6 months or so about defining your value, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, until like in that 6 months that Josh is talking about, like I said, numerous times I was just like, what am I doing? And would I just be better off on my own? And when you're trying to figure out like, are my splits where they should be? How do I make this more enticing? Like at the same time, you do have to really sit and think about like your own value and what your worth is. And honestly, it's almost like, I don't want to get into the commission conversation, but it's almost like when you have a seller that's trying to get you to discount your commission, it's like, no, I know my worth and I know all the work that I put into my listings, and that's it. It's kind of the same with splits with a team. Like I know the value that I bring and I know what I offer, and I'm not worth, any less. So
something we say and that we tell our team members is, if you and I as a client, if our very first interaction is a negotiation and I lose, that's not setting the standard and we've had people who won't come out and say it, but you can tell it was just a tactic just to see how you work, how you operate, if you're going to stand firm or if you're just going to cave every time somebody says something. So yeah, when somebody says that, and if somebody doesn't see value in what we do, that's okay. Like they're not our client. There's X number of realtors in the greater Lafayette area. There's other realtors here at Raeco, and that's okay.
Yeah, not everyone's your client.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't want every person as a client. I think it's back to
Not me either.
I think
Trying to trim down your number of clients.
I think you have to jive, and I said that the same thing about like bringing on agents at the brokerage. It just has to. It's the same thing with a client. You have to jive and you have to work well together, and you might not see eye to eye on every little detail, and that's fine. But you have to have a nice camaraderie going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and to go back to the value, Nelson asked about the value, and we addressed the value that team members bring to us, but the value that we bring to team members. When she first started, I mean, you had a couple of signs, and you were good at your job, but whenever you start looking at bullet points for value when talking to clients and trying to win over a listing, our team members can walk in and say, we will stage your house, we will professionally clean your house, professional pictures, professional video, paid marketing, moving boxes, moving trailer, and the list goes on and on and on. And they're like, wow, that's just a whole host of services. So you have a new real estate agent, let alone one that's doing it part-time, that can go in and slap down that menu on the table and be like, these are all the things that my team and I can do for you. And I don't think our split is off base from other teams that maybe don't offer those things. So I think we offer more value to team members than other teams do.
Yeah, you're defining your value to your client, basically the same way you're defining it to your teammates. So.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about the pros. We've talked about defining value. Throw me a couple cons, or maybe they're not cons, but maybe they're struggle. Or what's the downside of being on a team? I guess, or like maybe for someone out there that's sitting on a team right now and they're, I don't know, maybe they're kind of in the puddle of if they want to jump off and be their own agent or if they want to continue on a team, or because there's pros and cons to everything.
I think some of the cons that people see being on a team is you're not getting as much money. However, again, it kind of goes back to that value that team leader is bringing you. Now, if your team leader is taking a split from you and you're getting some signs and lock boxes and that's about it, like jump ship, go somewhere, go on your own or go somewhere else. Like, because the money you're giving them, like you can buy your own signs and lock boxes.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Amazon.
Yeah. Yes.
I feel like I've heard that before. I feel like somebody really smart said that
somebody
originally.
may have told me that at one point in my career before I went on my own, but
Smart.
Yeah, because you're looking for that. That's what you're looking for, that value. Whether the value is an itemized list of things you can present to your client, or the value is the person that you're talking to and getting things from.
Yeah.
There's still value.
And then maybe, I feel like this is like a double-edged sword, but I think a con to being on a team, depending on who you are, could be if you don't like being held accountable,
Yeah.
a team is not for you. That's a con. You don't want to be held accountable. You don't want to be on a team.
That's a good point. If you're on your own and you don't follow up with a lead and you see them close online with somebody else, like
You made that decision.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're on our team and we see your client on Facebook closing with somebody else, we're going to talk about it. We're going to figure out where we went wrong and what we can do better.
Yeah.
And that happens.
Sure.
Yeah.
It does.
I've had it happen more times than what I wish.
And it can be
So-
a good learning experience.
100%.
Just
Yep.
like you said, as long as you take the time to realize why it should be a learning experience, it can
Yes.
be a good one.
And even being held, and when I say being held accountable, whether it's with that or if you have like certain goals set for yourself, and you say, I want to make these things happen, like my job as a team leader is to do things to push you to make sure that you hit those. So if you don't like somebody doing things to push you to hit that, and you still just want to kind of be able to do what you want, and then if you're like, well, I could work my social media, but if that's how you would rather be and give yourself that excuse to not do things, then a team is not for you, and that's a con of a team.
Yeah, expectations of the team yeah, that would be fun. I was just picking your brain on what you saw as the downside.
I think honestly, when I was on a team, and like I said, the team that I was on, I truly loved the dynamic of a team. I liked being on a team. I liked the girls that I was with. Like I said, my team leader was super knowledgeable, and I learned a lot from her, and super grateful and appreciative of it. But at some point, it was like I felt that I was bringing more and more business, but the benefit of me being on the team was getting smaller and smaller, because there was no more incentive. As I was doing better, things benefit-wise for me just stayed the same. They didn't get greater in any way. So
That's why we structured the way we did with our split. We don't even know if it's really sustainable for somebody to stay with us for 20 years and slide it every year the way that we do. But the more deals they do, the more knowledge they get, the more valuable they are. So it's a longevity pay that they should be rewarded for.
The less time you're investing into them
Yeah, and
individually.
Yeah.
That's what I've said before, is that a team seems just like it can either be a longevity play, or it's just it's incubation for new agents. They come on, you take X amount of their pay while you're teaching them, and then they spread their wings and they fly away. So then you can either just rotate new agents over and over and go through, the 6 phone calls a day over and over until they get less. Who wants to keep bringing in new agents over and over and over and going through that process over and over again?
And that's part of that may not be such a terrible thing if, like one of the things that we're trying to restructure with our team is I really didn't have an onboarding process for people that joined the team. There was like, okay, you're on the team. Here's the checklist of all the next steps, and this is what we need to do. Whereas right now, that's what I'm working on. I'm working on an onboarding process. So when they join our team, we kind of have a checklist of like, these are the things you need to be doing in the first 30 days. And our goal is going to be to get you a closing within your first 60 days. So that's
Like how you said closing, and not just a deal, like not just a contract. We're going to have a closing.
a closing, yes.
Not for 60 days. That's cool.
So there's those things that I'm trying to put in place because, I definitely don't have it figured out as a team leader. Like I said, we trial and error since we started. We kind of hit the ground running and not totally knowing what we're doing, but I'm trying to do what I can to be a better team leader each day. And like I said, I definitely don't think that I've been the best that I could be since I've started, but
But you're
slowly
doing great.
working
You
on
keep
it.
on trucking.
Slowly working on it.
The first con that she brought up of just a split, you're handing some of your money over to somebody else, and it makes me think of, and I don't remember the exact quote, but Mark Cuban talks about it, of would you rather have 100% of a grape or 50% of a watermelon?
Right.
So, and that's kind of the team dynamic when.
I'd rather have 10% of a watermelon than a grape.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can, whatever split on whatever team can sound staggering, but when you realize your access to leads and knowledge and all the things that we've already talked about and the things that it can put in place for you, you start figuring out that it makes a lot of sense.
Especially when you start paying for all that that list that you were talking about. When you start paying for all those, especially as a new agent, if you're paying for every little thing that you're doing, like your list that you went through when you're presenting, if you, individually and you're only having a couple listings per year, that'd get real expensive to justify to do the different stuff.
Yeah, just with staging, you'd need a truck, all those things.
Yeah.
You'd need a Nate. I'm not cheap.
Yeah,
Nate.
you need a Nate.
Labor.
For sure, for sure.
Light bulbs,
Tons of
Yeah.
light bulbs.
man.
Tons.
What do you charge to come in and change the light bulbs? Can you do these? Because I've got a couple out here. You might have to jump though.
Have to itemize your list and put a ladder on it. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a ladder floating around here somewhere. I don't know where it is. Oh. What else do you want to tell us? Anything about teams?
I said in the beginning, I'm currently in a rebuilding and restructuring, so I am looking for new team members. If anybody's thinking about being on a team, I'd love to take you for lunch or drinks or coffee or whatever your thing is.
Go stage a house and have some
Yeah.
whiskey.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Come stage a house with me and let's see how we
That's
fit
right.
together.
We can chit chat while we're doing that.
Yeah.
And like she said, we want agents to brand themselves. We want them to be empowered to have their own client base, to have their own client list. There's some teams, and there is nothing wrong with this, but there's some teams where you don't exist. You're anonymous. You're helping the main person.
So, yeah, I try to have one-on-ones as often as anybody wants to at the brokerage, any of the agents. I also, and the agents probably don't really know this, but I also have one-on-ones with people outside the brokerage that are at other companies. And there's, sometimes they're on a team, sometimes they're individual agents, and we talk through some stuff and different things. But I had coffee with somebody not too long ago, and that was a struggle that they had is they're on a team and they're not branded at all. And they're so busy doing the business for the team that they don't even worry about their own branding. And like the question is why?
That's scary.
Yeah.
And that's something that I can say when I was on a team that that team leader made it known that we could brand ourselves. It wasn't all under that team leader's name. I had my own, name and stuff on sign. So yeah, my goal would most definitely be, if you're a team member of mine, I want to build you up and help you build your brand. Yes, you're part of the LaMar Realty Group, but you are your own individual agent under our umbrella.
It's important.
Yes.
The people that run the teams that way, can't fault them. They've probably been burned X number of times. And they're probably like, I've learned my lesson for the last time. This is me and only me, and that's the way that's going to be. And on one hand, there's nothing wrong with that. On the other hand, like if you've been in real estate for 5 years and nobody knows your name, that's a scary spot to be. Because if your team leader says, I'm moving to Florida, I've done well enough, I'm going to go sit on the beach, I'm going to retire. Well, now what do? Nobody knows who you are.
Start over.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you've got some client base and you got some sphere, but like nobody knows that name.
Yeah.
So it's not like a fresh start, I guess, but it's definitely a redo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been Real Estate Copilot. I'm your host, Josh Shives. Thanks for joining in. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we'll hear from you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.